Okay, this little video is more for my reference than anything else, but if it's of some help to someone along the line, well then great. This week I went to Italy via Switzerland. Okay, now it's a common thing to do, it's a good way of going if you can, but there are things you have to know if you're going that way, and you have to get what's called a T form, okay, to transit through Switzerland. Okay, now the best way to do it is you're obviously going to come down through Belgium, and once you get to the Belgium-Luxembourg border, okay, there's a parking area there, and right beside the parking area there's a little customs building. You can't miss it, it's actually on the motorway. It's before Capellan, which is the BP place. So you'll see that little place. You pull into the parking area there, and there's a little office inside there. There's actually offices on either side of the corridor. What I did, into the building, and the first office on the right hand side, they're basically what they are is they're customs agents, and they do T forms for people and stuff like that. So what you do is you bring in your CMR and your loading stuff, and you hand them in that, okay, and say, could I have a T form please? And they say no problem. Okay, so they'll do out a T form for you, which you need. Okay, now you can pay with the different cards, but the DKV card is a common one that people use to pay with. That's the one I paid with anyway. So you can pay with the DKV card. If you want to use a Visa, you can use a Visa. So once you had that done, they'll give you back your T forms, or your T form. So you go down across the road to the customs on the other side of the road, especially on the other side of the motorway, and there's a little lady inside the window there, and she'll stamp the forms, the T form for you. Now once you have that done, you're good to go. So off you go. If you're transiting down through, obviously you're going down through France, Strasbourg, and then on to Mulhouse. Okay, that's the way I went anyway. Now, just before you come into Mulhouse, in other words 20 kilometres north of it, you'll see a sign for St. Louis, or St. Louis, or whatever they call it. Follow on for St. Louis. There are other customs borders, but this one I think is the less congested one. So follow on for St. Louis, and keep going as far as, follow your nose the whole way down until you can go no further, and you'll see a signpost for customs and a sign for trucks. Follow that in. You're more than likely not going to be the first one there. There'll be other trucks there as well. It can be quite busy at times. So go in and park there. Take your T form with you, okay, and your documents. Now, before you go into the customs building, what you need to do is you need to get a road toll, okay, to go through Switzerland. You need to pay in advance. So what you do is you write down your kilometres on your hand for your current kilometres in the truck. You go in, you stick in this card, okay, into the machine, right? When you put that into the machine, that reads the card, and that comes up with all the details of your truck. It'll tell you, you know, your registration number, blah, the company name, and all that's there. So just there's a couple of other steps. You have to fill out kilometres and stuff, which is very important. Fill out all the stuff it's asking you to, and then press yes, okay, or whatever. It's all in English, there's no big deal. Now, you can pay for that with this card, which is an AS24 card. You can also, again, use a Visa or whatever you wish, okay? So, when you've done that, it will spit out this form here. Now, it only just looks like a small white slip. Basically what this is, it's a Swiss customs form, right? Now, on this has the details of your truck, okay? It also has the kilometres and your weight and stuff on that. All the details that you printed into this machine will be on this. It's like a sort of a road toll receipt, basically. Now, you take this, you take your T form that you got at the Belgian border and your CMRs, okay, and you hand them in to the customs there, okay. Now they'll check them again, make sure everything's right. They'll stamp, 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 stamp. They'll give them back to you. Now, you're done in St. Louis. All you have to do now is get straight up the road through the Gotthard tunnel. Now, one thing I will say to you, when you're going down through Switzerland, under no circumstance ignore signs for trucks this way. Even if it looks like it's bringing you off the motorway somewhere, you must follow obligation signs for trucks, because they have these checkpoints. Now sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not there, but you must follow the sign anyway. Do not ignore it, because you'll pay a heavy price for that. Away you go, down, all the way down to Italy. Now, just as you're coming to the Italian border, you'll see the same thing again. Customs, trucks this way. There'll be other trucks in front of you. Now, if you're going there first thing in the morning, it's chaos in there. There's loads and loads and loads of lorries. It looks like you're going to be there all day, but you won't be. So what you need to do is, before you go into the customs building, okay, you need to write down your finished kilometres on this form. Okay, now this is the one that you got from the machine in Switzerland, on the Swiss border, okay? Now you write down your finished kilometres along there, okay? So you bring this form in, you bring in your T form, you bring in your CMRs with you. Now, when you go in there, the first thing you need to get is this little form here, okay? Now, this form is done out in Italian, so you won't be able to understand anything it's asking you to do, but there is a template done in every language, and it's sellotaped to the wall. So when you go into the customs point, if you walk down, you'll see the windows number 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way down along, big corridor. On the wall is a sellotaped one of these done out in English, okay? Now, it'll tell you exactly how to fill it out. Your passport number, the truck number, the details of the truck, and all the way down here, the details of the load with the weight and everything, all that. Okay, so you fill that form out, make sure it's correct, otherwise you'll have to go back and do it again. Take this form that you got from the Swiss with your road toll details on it, take that and this, and your CMRs, and put the whole lot together and hand them in to the customs, in through the little hatch, okay? Now, what they'll basically do is they'll check that this is okay, and that they'll check that the stuff that you put on the pink form corresponds with your load, okay? They'll just check that it's all done. Now, what they do is, when they've done that and they've stamped it, you have to go to the Italian customs and the Swiss customs, okay? What they'll do is, the Italians will look at it and they'll take a copy of it, okay? They'll take one of them, okay? When they're done, okay? So basically what will happen is, when you're all done, the customs will check them, they've stamped all the forms, that they're happy enough that everything you say is true on it, you'll be left with this one, okay? Now, back out to the truck with you, and before you drive out the gate, there's another, like a security checkpoint, okay? So what you need to do in there is, you need to hand in this yellow form that you filled out and got stamped inside in the office, and this, okay? He'll check it again one last time that everything is right on this form. Now, you also have to make sure when you're going down through Switzerland, and it's up to you to make sure that you have all your stuff right. In other words, that you're not overweight, because if you are, you get fined. Your truck height must be 0.5, okay? 4.05. If it's any more than 4.05, you'll attract a fine as well. Now, make sure also that your kilometres are correct. Okay, when you're checking in at this St. Louis border, write your kilometres onto the machine, and that'll print it here. And you write your finished kilometres there. There's no point in writing anything else on this, because if there's a discrepancy in the kilometres, you'll get fined. So just make sure that's right. So what will happen then is, on the final exit, then the guy will keep this form, okay? So you won't have that again. But when you go in originally, and they take these forms off you, they'll give you a blank one, okay? Everyone gets a blank one, it's free, okay? So what it basically means is that the next time you come to the border point, you can fill this out in advance. It'll save you some time, so you can go straight in and hand in the form without having to do what I did, which is start from scratch and fill it all out. So once you've done that, hand it in, everything should be okay, hunky-dory, and up the road you go. It's simple when you know how. And the reason I'm doing this is because it could be another 5 years before I'm down there again, and I don't want to have to go through the same thing asking people, what am I supposed to do? That's how you do it. It's easy and it's straightforward, but just make sure you have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and make sure that everything is correct. Now, you're not overweight, that you're not over height, and that you've got the correct details on the forms, and then you'll be hunky-dory. I hope it was some use to you. Bye bye.